Recent statements by Elon Musk have once again sparked a wave of discussion around one of Tesla's most ambitious projects in the company's history. During a closed meeting with Tesla investors and engineers, first reported by several American technology bloggers, Musk allegedly joked that in the future, cars should be able not only to avoid traffic jams, but to leave them entirely. At first glance, it sounded like another one of Elon's jokes. However, only a few days later, several insiders connected to Tesla and SpaceX suppliers began claiming that a secret project related to vertical takeoff technology actually exists inside the company. What makes this especially interesting is that it is not said to be an aircraft or a drone, but a fully fledged flying Tesla vehicle. The most intriguing part is that these rumors began emerging almost simultaneously from multiple independent sources, which usually happens only when active development is already underway inside a corporation and information starts gradually leaking out. The situation became even more intense when analysts noticed unusual Tesla activity in patent areas related to ultra-light composite materials, compact thrust distribution systems, and new ultra-high-density batteries. Several documents published in the U.S. patent database describe technologies that appear far too unconventional for a standard electric vehicle. Furthermore, some of these technologies overlap with SpaceX developments in thrust control and thermal management. This has led many experts to speculate that Tesla may be preparing not just another car, but an entirely new transportation category. While the idea of a flying car once seemed like science fiction from early 2000s movies, an increasing number of analysts now argue that Tesla could be the first company capable of turning the concept into a real mass-market product. According to several American publications, including sources close to former Tesla employees, a small, highly confidential engineering group has existed within Tesla for years, operating separately from the main Autopilot and Optimus teams. Its activities are reportedly classified to an extreme degree, and employees sign expanded non-disclosure agreements. Some insiders claim that the project is internally known under the temporary codename Skyline, although Tesla traditionally changes project names before public launches. Another interesting detail is that some engineers assigned to the group previously worked at SpaceX on Falcon 9 stabilization systems and rocket landing software. This appears particularly unusual because specialists with such expertise are rarely transferred into the automotive division without a significant reason. Many observers have also recalled Elon Musk's comments from several years ago when he suggested that Tesla could theoretically create a vehicle equipped with elements of the SpaceX package, a set of miniature compressed air thrusters. At the time, most people dismissed the idea as another example of Musk's futuristic trolling. Today, however, against the backdrop of rapid advances in artificial intelligence, autonomous piloting, and battery technology, those statements no longer seem quite so far-fetched. Moreover, according to several Wall Street technology analysts, Tesla may have achieved substantial progress in next-generation battery development with significantly higher energy density. Batteries have always been the primary obstacle to compact flying transportation because existing technologies remain too heavy for extended flight. But if Tesla has indeed moved closer to producing a new class of ultra-light batteries, the situation could change dramatically within the next few years. Some insiders claim that Tesla is discussing not merely a flying car concept, but the creation of an entirely new category of future personal transportation. In essence, the project is described as a hybrid of an automobile, artificial intelligence, and an autonomous aviation platform. The vehicle would supposedly be able to travel on ordinary roads and, under certain conditions, switch into a vertical takeoff mode. And this is where Tesla's artificial intelligence plays a key role. The company already possesses one of the largest road data networks in the world, thanks to millions of vehicles collecting information from roads every day. If this is combined with autonomous aerial navigation, Tesla could gain an enormous advantage over all competitors. In effect, the company could create the world's first unified AI system for managing both ground and air traffic. This is why many analysts believe the project could be far larger than it appears today. It may not simply be an expensive toy for billionaires, but an attempt to completely transform the infrastructure of future megacities. Already, the world's largest cities are facing transportation gridlock. Traffic congestion continues to worsen, building new roads is becoming nearly impossible, and urban populations keep growing. Flying transportation has the potential to change the very architecture of cities. Imagine a world where thousands of autonomous Tesla vehicles move through aerial corridors above cities, all managed by a single artificial intelligence system. A world where people no longer spend 2 hours sitting in traffic because their vehicle simply rises into the air and follows the optimal route. For many, this sounds like science fiction, but only 10 years ago, Tesla's autonomous cars also seemed impossible. Particularly interesting is the market's reaction to all these rumors. After the first leaks appeared, some investors began actively discussing the possibility that Tesla was preparing a new iPhone moment for the transportation industry. Several major technology channels on YouTube and analysts on X started comparing the potential launch of a flying Tesla to the moment Apple first unveiled the iPhone, because if successful, Tesla could effectively create an entirely new market with trillion-dollar potential. And it is important to understand that Elon Musk has repeatedly entered industries that were considered impossible to revolutionize. SpaceX transformed the space sector. Tesla changed the electric vehicle market. Starlink is reshaping global internet access. Neuralink is attempting to connect the human brain to computers. As a result, many investors have long since stopped viewing such ideas as mere fantasies. At the same time, however, a huge number of problems and questions arise. The biggest issue is regulation. Even if Tesla were to create a working prototype of a flying car, transportation laws around the world would need to be rewritten completely. Airspace is currently tightly regulated by aviation authorities. Every flight requires complex certification and control systems. Imagine what would happen if thousands of autonomous vehicles began flying above cities simultaneously. Who would be responsible for safety? Who would control flight routes? What would happen if the system failed? How would collisions be prevented? How would such vehicles be protected from cyber attacks? All of these questions are already causing serious concern among aviation safety experts. There is also another problem: noise. Even modern small drones generate significant sound, and if millions of flying cars were operating above major metropolitan areas, cities could face an entirely new level of noise pollution. This is why some analysts believe Tesla may be working on a fundamentally new propulsion system that would be much quieter than traditional rotor-based designs. Once again, rumors point to possible use of SpaceX technologies and new magnetic solutions. Some engineers speculate that Tesla is attempting to create a distributed electric propulsion system with dozens of compact, nearly silent modules instead of large rotors. If true, this would represent a technology capable of transforming aviation itself. Another reason the rumors appear so believable is the current state of the market. Chinese companies are already actively testing eVTOL platforms, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Several startups in the United States and China are already conducting piloted tests of air taxis. However, most of these projects resemble small helicopters or drones rather than full-fledged automobiles. Tesla, on the other hand, could potentially take a completely different approach. The company is known for making products both mass-market and visually appealing. If Tesla were to unveil a futuristic flying car with a Cybertruck-level design and full AI control, the impact could be enormous. Discussion intensified even further after users noticed unusual activity near the Gigafactory in Texas. Several drones filming the factory grounds from a distance captured the movement of unidentified covered structures whose shapes did not resemble either automobiles or standard Tesla production modules. Of course, this is not evidence, but the internet immediately began constructing theories. Some bloggers are convinced that Tesla is already testing early elements of a new platform. Others believe the company is intentionally fueling speculation ahead of a major event. Elon Musk understands perfectly how the information effect surrounding Tesla works and often uses mysterious hints to generate enormous attention long before official announcements. If Tesla does unveil its first working concept within the next few years, the consequences could be immense. The automotive industry would be stunned. Traditional automakers that have only recently begun catching up to Tesla in electric vehicles would suddenly face another technological revolution. Aviation companies could also find themselves under pressure because a portion of short-distance urban flights could shift entirely to a new format of personal aerial transportation. Even the real estate market could change. If people can reach a city center in 10 minutes through the air, the importance of distance between home and work would be completely transformed. Suburban areas could expand even faster, and the structure of major metropolitan regions could undergo dramatic changes. Some experts believe that a fully commercial version of such transportation is unlikely to appear before the mid-2030s. Even if Tesla is already working on a prototype, years of testing, certification, and refinement still lie ahead. However, the company could theoretically present a demonstration concept much sooner, especially considering Musk's fondness for ambitious futuristic presentations. Analysts suggest that Tesla might initially introduce a limited version for private properties, corporate campuses, or specialized routes. Only years later could the technology reach the mass market. As for pricing, forecasts vary widely. Some believe the first flying Tesla car could cost more than $300,000 or even $500,000. But Tesla's history shows that the company consistently seeks to reduce costs over time. Electric vehicles were once considered toys for the ultra-wealthy, yet today, Tesla sells millions of vehicles worldwide. If the company succeeds in creating a functional platform, similar vehicles could become far more affordable within 10 to 15 years, especially if Tesla can automate production and integrate the new system into its existing gigafactories. But the most important point is something else entirely. A flying Tesla car could become more than just a new mode of transportation. It could mark the beginning of an entirely new era. For the first time in human history, artificial intelligence, autonomous control, electric technology, and aviation could be combined into a single system designed for mass use. And if that truly happens, the world 20 years from now could look completely different from today. Cities would change, roads would change, logistics would change. Even our perception of distance between people could disappear. And that is exactly why rumors surrounding Tesla's mysterious project are generating such enormous interest around the world. Against the backdrop of all these rumors, Elon Musk's own behavior looks particularly interesting. In recent months, he has increasingly published cryptic posts related to the future of transportation. One such post spread rapidly across social media after Musk responded to a user's question about traffic congestion in megacities with the short phrase, "Earth has 3 dimensions for a reason." At the time, most users did not understand exactly what he meant, but within days the comment began to be actively discussed by technology bloggers and analysts. Many interpreted it as a direct hint about using airspace as the next stage in transportation development. And considering Musk's habit of dropping clues ahead of major announcements, such messages started being viewed in a completely different light. Equally interesting is the fact that Tesla has recently increased its hiring of engineers with aviation experience. Several job openings noticed by Bloomberg journalists and independent researchers were related to air traffic management systems, high-speed stabilization, and distributed electric propulsion. Formally, the descriptions did not mention flying cars, but many specialists immediately noticed that the requirements were unusually specific for a conventional automotive division. Moreover, some of the positions overlapped with expertise traditionally associated with the aerospace industry. This only strengthened rumors that Tesla may indeed be preparing something far more ambitious than just another electric vehicle. A separate wave of discussion was also triggered by recent activity at SpaceX. According to several sources, part of the testing of new compact thrust control systems was suddenly moved into a restricted format. Some analysts believe that SpaceX and Tesla may be integrating their technologies more closely than ever before, to the point where the boundary between the automotive and space industries could begin to blur. It sounds extraordinary, but only a few years ago, the idea of using rocket stabilization technologies in civilian transportation seemed impossible as well. Today, many engineers point out that SpaceX possesses unique expertise in ultra-precise computer control of objects moving through space. And if that expertise were combined with Tesla's artificial intelligence, the result could indeed be revolutionary. Some insiders are convinced that Tesla is not merely working on a flying car, but on a fully autonomous aerial ecosystem. The concept involves creating a specialized AI network capable of coordinating the movement of thousands of airborne Tesla vehicles simultaneously in real time. In essence, it could become the equivalent of an aerial internet for the transportation systems of the future. Vehicles would constantly exchange data, analyze weather conditions, traffic density, air corridor status, and instantly adjust their routes. This is precisely where Tesla could gain a massive advantage over competitors. No automotive company in the world possesses as much real-world autonomous driving data as Tesla. Millions of Tesla vehicles already train neural networks every day under real-world conditions. If that system were extended into the air, Tesla could potentially find itself decades ahead of the market. However, this is also the aspect causing serious concern among regulators. Some American officials have already begun discussing the potential risks of mass aerial transportation controlled by a single private corporation. Imagine a situation in which a significant portion of urban mobility depends on Tesla's servers and artificial intelligence. Such a scenario raises not only technical questions, but political ones as well. What would happen in the event of a large-scale system failure? What if the network is attacked by hackers? How can airspace safety be controlled if thousands of vehicles are operating autonomously? According to several American media outlets, within the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration of the United States, there are already closed analytical groups studying scenarios involving the emergence of mass autonomous eVTOL systems in the coming decades. Some experts even believe that a flying Tesla car could become the most complex product in the company's history, far more complex than the Cybertruck, Optimus, or even full self-driving, because Tesla would have to simultaneously solve problems of automotive safety, aviation safety, autonomous AI, energy efficiency, and infrastructure, all of which must work perfectly. Otherwise, any mistake could lead to catastrophic consequences. That is precisely why many analysts believe Tesla will not rush into a full-scale launch, even if a prototype already exists, as the company fully understands that a single major accident could destroy trust in the new technology for a long time. Despite all the risks, however, interest in such a project continues to grow literally every week, especially after several investors close to Silicon Valley hinted that Tesla is preparing the most futuristic product since the first iPhone. These words were quickly picked up by the media, and now an almost cult-like level of expectation is forming around the mysterious project. Many Tesla fans are convinced that Musk wants to go down in history as the person who finally moved humanity from the era of roads into the era of three-dimensional transportation. And if one looks at Musk's long-term strategy, such an idea does indeed seem logical. SpaceX deals with space, Tesla with transport and energy, Neuralink with human-AI connection, and Starlink with global digital infrastructure. And a flying Tesla car fits perfectly into this broader picture of the future he is trying to build. Moreover, some futurists believe that such transport could become an intermediate step toward the colonization of Mars. And at first glance, this may seem strange, but autonomous aerial platforms are ideally suited for use on other planets, where there are thin atmospheres, no proper roads, and a need to move between remote bases, all of which makes air transport far more efficient than traditional vehicles, which is why some SpaceX fans are convinced that the technologies behind a future flying Tesla could later also be used on Mars. And Elon Musk has repeatedly said that many Tesla and SpaceX technologies will in the future be closely interconnected. So the idea of a unified transport platform for Earth and other planets no longer seems entirely fantastical. And a separate point of interest is the potential design of such a vehicle, with many concept artists already publishing their own versions of future flying Teslas, most often resembling a mix of a Cybertruck, a fighter jet, and a futuristic drone, with some suggesting Tesla will choose a highly aggressive angular design with extensive lighting and active aerodynamics, while others believe the company will adopt a more minimalist Apple-like aesthetic to make the technology more approachable for mass users. But virtually all analysts agree on one thing: if Tesla truly unveils such a product, the internet would explode, because it would be a moment people have discussed for decades in films, games, and science fiction. And this raises yet another important question: how human life itself would change if such transport became reality, as it could eliminate the importance of distance within cities and allow people to live hundreds of kilometers away from major urban centers while still reaching city centers in minutes, which could completely transform housing markets, working models, and even the structure of the economy. Huge megacities could begin to spread out over tens or even hundreds of kilometers, because physical distance would no longer be a problem. Many futurists believe that transportation has always defined the development of civilization. When cars appeared, cities changed. When airplanes appeared, the world changed. And if humanity transitions to mass aerial transport, the consequences could be even more profound. At the same time, however, the level of social inequality could increase, because the first versions of such transport will almost certainly be available only to ultra-wealthy individuals. And this could trigger serious criticism. Imagine cities where the rich literally move above traffic, while ordinary people continue to sit in congestion for hours. Some analysts already warn that the emergence of such transport could deepen perceptions of technological inequality. That is precisely why Tesla will likely try to make the technology affordable as quickly as possible, just as happened with electric vehicles. And yet the main question right now is something else: how close Tesla actually is to a real working prototype. Because if even part of the rumors is true, humanity may be standing on the threshold of one of the biggest transportation revolutions in the last 100 years. Elon Musk has repeatedly proven that he can turn ideas once considered impossible into real products. That is why even the most extreme rumors around Tesla today are taken far more seriously than they were a few years ago. And perhaps right now, somewhere inside closed Tesla or SpaceX facilities, engineers are indeed working on a machine that could change the world forever.